I'm Courtney Fallon, and welcome to the Game Plan on Reach TV, your insider guide to this week's key NFL action. In the Game Plan, I tap into the Bleav podcast network to bring you the most important information you need to know for this week's big NFL games. As we enter the final weeks of the season, the playoff race is becoming tighter and tighter and better, might I say. Several divisions are tied, making Week 16 a pivotal week for a lot of NFL teams. To give us some insight on how the playoff picture will take shape, I am joined by the legend, big fan myself, NFL veteran Solomon Wilcots from the Bleav in Bengals podcast. Solomon, you ready to play 3 and out?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
First down, the Cowboys and the Eagles are tied at 10-4. Who wins the division and why?
I'm still going to hedge towards the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a favorable schedule. You got 2 games in there against the New York Football Giants. I expect the Eagles to get back on track. However, psychologically, it's a team that's reeling right now. So I think the schedule is more favorable for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, second down, the NFC South seems to be the division that no one wants to win. The Bucs, the Saints are 7-7, and the Falcons are 6-8. Who wins this division and why?
You know, I thought Atlanta Falcons were ready to grab hold of this thing, but they seem to be receding into the background just as they have for the last few years. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield has the Bucs ready to win yet another division title. And this time they get it done without Tom Brady. He's been playing at a very high level. The players around him. And Rachaad White coming out of the backfield, I think has been a gold mine for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans at wide receiver. Now you got a run game with Rachaad White. I think the Buccaneers are ready to punch their playoff ticket.
And listen, Baker Mayfield went up to Lambeau Field, never won before. He won last week. Mike Evans with his 87,000-yard season. I mean, he seems to be a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. I like your chances with the Buccaneers as well. They might be the best team in the NFL in the state of Florida. I mean, sorry, I'm not going to say it, Dolphins, but, you know, they're in the NFC, so they have their own due. All right, finally, speaking of one of the other teams in South Florida, Tua Tagovailoa, he is leading the league in passing yards, quieting all the doubters he has had coming into the season and also staying healthy, thank goodness. The top 5 quarterbacks with the most passing yards are separated by 282 yards. Who finishes with the most yards and why? Is it him or is it Purdy, Mahomes, or Dak Prescott?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm going to go with Tua, and here's why. I believe the Dolphins finish off with most of the final 3 games at home, because they usually put them on the road in the early part of the schedule, as you well know.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Tua. I could see him finishing with the passing title because he's armed with nothing but speed on the perimeter, and they're going to throw it deep but plenty in these final 3 games.
Oh, for sure. And you know how important Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are to that offense. With Tyreek Hill out last week, Waddle took over. So, it's going to be a game through the air, especially down the stretch, and especially with them playing the Cowboys this weekend. All right, we got our bonus question. I'm going to switch it up a little bit for this. Considering that the Jets are eliminated from playoff contention, Aaron Rodgers potentially could be cleared to play, medically cleared. Should he play? If he didn't get injured, where would the Jets be right now? Would they be kind of in the middle of the hunt, or?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, they've won 5 games without him. I would say they're probably good for 5 more with him. So I think they're definitely in the playoff hunt. As to whether or not they could win the division, I think even that would be wide open. The Buffalo Bills have had their missteps this year, right? And the Dolphins have been less than perfect. You and I both know that Aaron Rodgers is a difference maker. He's a force multiplier. And I think he would have added to the deficiencies that either one of those teams within the division has. And so, no, I think they would be contending for a division title in the AFC East had he been able to stay healthy.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Solomon Wilcots. Thank you so much for joining us on 3 and Out, Solomon. We hope to have you again soon. Up next, I'm breaking down my 3 key games that you need to know for Week 16 right here on the Game Plan. Each week, I like to focus on 3 key games that you need to know about. And entering Week 16, I have circled these 3 matchups that we need to cover right about now. My first key game focuses on two teams that need to finish strong to be able to clinch their division and make it to the playoffs. That's right, the Jacksonville Jaguars are traveling to Tampa Bay, just across the Sunshine State, to face their in-state rivals, the Buccaneers. The Jaguars, they have been struggling as of late, and they have lost 3 in a row. And now potentially lost Trevor Lawrence as he entered the NFL's concussion protocol. The Jags are in a 3-way tie for the lead in the AFC South, making this a must-win if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. To find out if the Jaguars can snap their losing streak, let's hear from Justin Dunk from the Bleav in Jaguars podcast. Justin, how can the Jags do it?
Thanks, Courtney. The Jaguars travel to Tampa Bay this weekend for a matchup of divisional leaders. Jacksonville on top, although tenuously, of the AFC South. Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence is in the concussion protocol. Lots of uncertainty around whether or not he'll start yet again for the Jaguars. They've been through that drill a number of times already this season. You would imagine C.J. Beathard is going to get a lot of the reps during the week of practice to potentially be ready to start. If he has to go, it seems unlikely that we will know who will start at quarterback up until either Saturday night or Sunday. All kinds of confidence for this Buccaneers offense that features Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The Jags defense will need to play well yet again, but Jacksonville's offense has to get some production solved and move this football consistently to have a chance against the Buccaneers on the road in Raymond James Stadium. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate the insight. Yeah, a lot of uncertainty with QB1 and concussion protocol. Can the Jags get through the injuries? C.J. Beathard is the Jaguars' replacement. What did I say last week? Listen, smoke and mirrors with this Jaguars team starting to clear. And if their quarterback doesn't clear concussion protocol, I don't know. Me personally, I don't like Jacksonville's chances. While the Jaguars have gone 0-3 this month, the Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield, have had a December to remember. They're on a 3-game winning streak, keeping them tied with the Saints for the NFC South Division lead. To find out if the Bucs can get it done at Raymond James Stadium, let's hear from Rhett Matthew and Evan Wanish from the Cannon Fire podcast. Guys, what do you got for me?
Thanks, Courtney. Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield is fresh off of probably the best game of his career. Against the Packers last Sunday, Baker went 22 for 28, 381 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and of course a perfect 158.3 passer rating. So not only is Baker playing well, but the rest of this Bucs offense is seemingly getting hot at the right time, increasing their point total for the last 5 weeks. Dave Canales has done a great job making adjustments throughout the season. So Evan, your thoughts on the Bucs this week?
Yeah, obviously a big factor, I think, is going to be a turnover battle. They're 0-4 this season, so they can afford one turnover. They had one turnover in Green Bay, were able to overcome it with a 34-point performance, but turning the ball over multiple times has been a recipe for disaster for this team. So look for the Bucs offense to try and continue to protect the football while also being explosive and being able to put up points on the board against Jacksonville.
Should be a great game. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, Rhett. Thank you, Evan. Listen, again, like I said, can Baker Mayfield repeat that performance? He's going to need to. Santa found Florida's NFL man all on the nice list. The Dolphins, Jacksonville, and the Bucs. They're all in first place in their division, but I think the Bucs are on his nicest list. Yes, Santa has a nice list and a nicest list. I'm going to ride out with the Bucs on a high. I'm taking Tampa Bay to edge the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. My second key game of Week 16 brings us back to South Florida, where Dak Prescott and the Cowboys will battle Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. The 10-4 Cowboys were on a 5-game red-hot streak, and they were looking like the team to beat headed into Week 15. And that's exactly what the Bills did. The Cowboys must regroup against the Miami Dolphins if they want to keep their hopes of winning the division alive. To find out if Dallas can pull it off, we talked to Dallas Cowboys radio host Jeff Kavanaugh and former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley from the Bleav in Cowboys podcast. It's a lot of Cowboys. So fellas, what's the game plan?
Thank you, Courtney. Yes, Jeff Kavanaugh alongside Jesse Holley here, and we are Bleav in the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys get to bounce back at the Miami Dolphins, and boy, are the Cowboys good on the road against good teams. What are we looking for this week?
man, of course it's going to be a track meet, right? You know what the Miami offense presents with Tua Tagovailoa kind of leading the charge. You'll most likely get Tyreek Hill back in this matchup. But I think the one thing that I'll be looking more so into is Vic Fangio is their defensive coordinator. And he was the one that said a couple years ago, we have the blueprint on how to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Well, the Cowboys haven't lost back-to-back games in, God, I don't know how many seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see, can they bounce back from the butt whooping they took in Buffalo, go down to sunny South Beach, and redeem themselves and get back to the winning ways this week.
Do it for all of us, Dallas Cowboys. Do it for our mental health, okay? We appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Jesse. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jesse. Let's see if the Cowboys can overcome that Vic Fangio blueprint that Jesse had mentioned. Meanwhile, in Week 15, the Miami Dolphins go back in the win column with a dominant shutout performance against their division foes, the New York Jets. Coming up next, they have to take care of business against a Cowboys team that slipped up last week, especially if they want to ensure a division title. To find out if the Fins can get this crucial win at home against a winning team, let's hear from Sam Marcoux and Chris Cullen from the Perfectville podcast. Guys, how can Miami get it done?
All right, thanks, Courtney. Chris, the Miami Dolphins are 10-4. The Dallas Cowboys are 10-4. A lot of similarities between these two franchises, including the fact that they've both been accused of not being able to beat winning teams on their schedule. Something has to give this weekend. The Miami Dolphins are 6-1 at home. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-4 on the road. That seems to be an advantage for the Miami Dolphins. Also a unique advantage. Anytime these teams play with the year ending in 3, the Dolphins seem to win. Thanksgiving 1993, Dolphins win. Thanksgiving 2003, Dolphins win. Christmas Eve 2023, Dolphins win? How do they do that and continue to control their own destiny, Chris?
Well, Sam, the Dolphins offense just has to keep rolling. They put up 30 points on one of the best defenses in the league in the New York Jets last week at home without Tyreek Hill. Tua Tagovailoa really changed the narrative of Tyreek carrying him this year. He fed Waddle, he fed him often. What the Dolphins really need to do, Sam, on defense especially, is get healthy. Xavier Howard was out. Javon Holland's been out. If those guys can come back, shut down CeeDee Lamb, get pressure on Dak Prescott, it could be a happy holiday and not ugly like your sweater, Sam, on Christmas for the Miami Dolphins. Back to you, Courtney.
All right. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Chris. We will see how many players the Fins can get back from injury, though they did prove that they could get a win without some of their key starters. So it's not going to be that bad for this game because we're headed towards the playoffs. They have to prove something. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks here, a lot of scoring on the board, but Dallas gets it done. Give me the Cowboys to beat the Dolphins. All right, drum roll, please. It's my final key game for Week 16. The AFC leading Baltimore Ravens and the NFC leading San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium. The Baltimore Ravens are on a 4-game win streak, and they are showing no signs of slowing down. How about Lamar Jackson? A career 19-1 record against NFC teams. To find out if the Ravens can leave San Fran with a win on Christmas nonetheless, let's hear from Ravens reporter Kyrie Thompson and Super Bowl champ Daniel Wilcots. Guys, what is the game plan?
Thanks a lot, Courtney. This is going to be a battle of the Titans. What do you think when you look at Brock Purdy and this San Francisco 49ers offense, Daniel?
I think they're going to lose to the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. That's exactly what I think, Kyrie. And I know Courtney feel me. Courtney, I know you got me on the other side, feeling me, holding me down. This is a statement game for the Baltimore Ravens. So we're going to come fired up, ready to play. And Brock Purdy, be ready for that work because we're about to bring it to your back door.
Just generally, when you look at these two teams, the Baltimore Ravens, best scoring defense in the league. Want to know number 2? San Francisco 49ers.
Oh.
Yep, and then they're like the 3rd and 4th scoring offenses in the league. This is going to be a hard-fought game. It's not just about Brock Purdy. It's about stopping Deebo Samuel. It's about controlling that run game in the offensive line. So what you think?
I think the Ravens got all the dog in them. I think they're going to come out on top of this thing. The Ravens are hot right now. I can't wait to see them go into San Fran and tear these boys up.
Hey, you heard it here. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, guys. Definitely should be one of the biggest games of the year, and it will be a fight in the trenches for both teams as they need to find a way to control the opposing offense. Remember when the 49ers had a 3-game skid and people thought they were finished? Well, since then, they've gone 6-0, becoming arguably the best team in the NFL. They're averaging 30.5 points per game, a whopping over 400 yards per game. It's a lot, by the way, ranking both top 3 in the league. They'll have to put up similar numbers against a stingy Baltimore defense if they want a chance at winning this game. To find out what else the Niners have to do to remain the top team in the league, let's go hear from my girl, Tracy Sandler from The Tracy Sandler Show. She is a 49ers beat reporter, and she has all of the details. Trace, what do you got for me?
Thank you, Courtney. We've got a Monday night Christmas matchup as the NFC's number 1 seeded San Francisco 49ers host the AFC's number 1 seeded Baltimore Ravens. MVP candidates galore, with the 49ers boasting Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey, and the Baltimore Ravens boasting Lamar Jackson. Last week, the 49ers gave up over 200 rushing yards to the Arizona Cardinals, and that just will not do. They were without Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave, both of whom have a chance to play on Monday night, but no matter what, they need to clean that up, because stopping that run is going to be a key to victory. Which brings me to my favorite key to the game: protecting the football and the turnover battle. With a game like this, with two teams that are playing at such a high level, that is going to be the key to victory. Who turns the ball over less? I'm giving this win to the San Francisco 49ers at home on Christmas because they are just rolling and I don't see them losing, but it will be tough and it will be close. Merry Christmas, everybody. Back to you, Courtney.
Appreciate the insight. As always, Tracy, I agree. Stopping that Ravens run game will be key for the 49ers. Listen, everyone is going to say the Niners here. I'm just a girl with loyalty to the AFC. I think this Ravens team is the best that I have seen them in many, many years. And I'm going to take the road team, the Baltimore Ravens. Give me them to beat the Niners on Christmas. So those are my key games for Week 16. Up next is everything that you need to know to win your fantasy matchup. Stay right there. The game plan will be right back. Okay, it is that time of the show to play Pick 6 on the game plan, and joining me with his Week 16 lineup is Max Loeb from the Dog Check Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm very good, very good. Very happy to be here. Very excited to talk about the Week 2 of the fantasy playoffs for most people too. Very excited.
Okay, all right. Well, let's pick your team. We got to go down the list of a couple of things: quarterback, wide receiver, tight end. You know how it goes. I'm going to throw that out to you, and you're just going to go through it. So quarterback, Justin Fields. Why do you have him as your QB1 this week?
I'll start with the matchup. I think just looking at the Arizona Cardinals defense, especially the past 5 weeks, 24th, I guess, in the NFL in fantasy points allowed, bottom 8 in fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks. Justin Fields obviously has that passing floor where he can throw the ball to DJ Moore and the other guys and get the ball moving through the air. But the Cardinals really haven't faced a running threat like Justin Fields. I think there's an explosion there. I really, really like the matchup for Fields.
All right, well, the stock for the Los Angeles Rams is kind of going on the up and up, and Kyren Williams is a really good running back for that team. He's been consistent, yes. And they're playing a Saints team that's on Thursday night that is suffering in the ground game. So why do you love Kyren Williams as your running back?
It seems like regardless of who the Rams play, like you take matchup out of the equation, Williams will not only be a staple in the run game and in the pass game. I think on a short week, which, believe it or not, offenses are actually better on a short week. The statistics have shown this year. I think high scoring game, the Rams will be able to move the ball, especially through the air. Williams will have a nice little impact there as well. He gets into the end zone, plenty of carries, plenty of pass volume. The Rams could be leading by the fourth quarter and add a little extra volume to his workload too. I think he continues with a really, really good performance moving off of last week.
Okay, wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is Josh Allen's #1 target. You got to love what he brings to the table this week.
Yeah, especially against the Chargers defense that has struggled against the run. They can't defend #1 receivers. And I think we saw that with Devontae Adams, chunk play after chunk play. I think the threat that Diggs is in the red zone, I think kind of pushes him over the edge here. I think there'll be plenty of volume. I think the Bills will be able to move the ball like they usually do against a really bad defense. And so I just love the volume for Diggs, regardless if they're winning or losing.
For your tight end, you have Evan Ingram, obviously with Trevor Lawrence still being in concussion protocol. How do you see that being a favorable matchup for the Jaguars at tight end?
It's interesting to see, like, this Jaguars offense with Ingram, it's been all over the place. You never know what they're going to do offensively. You never know if they're going to run the ball, pass the ball. One thing that's been pretty consistent is the production of Evan Ingram. I think this week, really good matchup against the Bucs. They're allowing the 6th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. But the interesting thing to note here is Trevor Lawrence, as the time of recording, is still in concussion protocol. Like, we don't know if he's going to play. The reality of the situation is, if he doesn't play and C.J. Beathard plays, that is going to be Beathard's safety valve. But for those of you who think that it may be a cautionary thing if Beathard plays instead of Lawrence, I would suggest you think the opposite. I actually think he looks his way more.
Okay. Your defense, Buffalo Bills. Why do you love them? I mean, listen, that last game against the Cowboys, we totally called it here. If you were watching, they hold opponents to under 14 points per game. I mean, they only gave up 10 points against the Cowboys, but why do you love this game, this defense specifically for the Buffalo Bills?
I think it's a couple things. I think, one, they're playing really good football. I think I have to start with that. The Bills defensively especially playing really, really good football. The Bills have one of the best, honestly, if not the best, pass rushes in the NFL. So I think you couple that with their ability to jump on the ball and create turnovers, how well they played last week. Like, it's the perfect storm for the Bills defense. I think they have a really, really good game against Easton Stick, regardless if Keenan Allen is back.
Waiver wire pickup, Justice Hill, it's your final pick. Hit us with the knockout punch, Max.
For me, I don't know. I look at Justice Hill and I look at this Ravens offense. They've had to come back to the ground game a little bit more with Mark Andrews getting hurt. You're losing a lot in Keaton Mitchell. Just tore his ACL. He's done for the year. Justice Hill continued to have value even with Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards getting touches. And last week, from what I saw at least, he just looked really good with football. So I think Hill could be a viable asset. I don't know about this week, but next week, if you need somebody, if somebody goes down, it's a really, really good bench player to have for sure.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the show, Max. We appreciate you joining Pick 6 on the Game Plan. Well, that's all the time we have on the Game Plan today. Go check out the Bleav Podcast Network for more in-depth analysis on every team in the league. And don't forget, you can catch every game live on Reach TV all season long. We'll see you next week.